What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately regarding the channel and I want to try a different type of video. I want to show some love to a franchise that led me to becoming a YouTuber back in 2015. I've always had my love for my favorite series, but Sonic was the first one where I really dove into the fandom and history of a franchise. I got into mods, fan games, I read the Archie comics, hell I even reviewed the first issue on my old page. And with all this, I developed an overarching opinion of the franchise. It's a franchise that's experienced a lot of highs and a hell of a lot of lows. But for this video, I want to look at the game that started it all and answer the question, how well does Sonic 1 hold up today? But before we get into the video, if you guys could subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Now let's go ahead and get into this. When the Genesis was launched in 1989, it was off to a rough start. While the Genesis was the first 16-bit console, the lack of a true console seller was killing them in the console wars. Nintendo's 8-bit NES was beating the Genesis due to the mega hit
Super Mario Brothers 3!
And by 1990, the Genesis was getting beat on multiple fronts. The NES was still king in North America, and worse, it was getting beat back home by the TurboGrafx 16. When Nintendo announced their plans for their own 16-bit console, Sega knew that they were going to have to make drastic changes if they wanted to compete with the powerhouse that was Nintendo. What Sega needed was a flagship character that was so popular it would be associated with the Sega name. So Sega turned to their internal 5-person development team, Sega AM8, to create a mega hit video game that would give Mario a run for his money, because Alex Kidd simply wasn't cutting it. AM8 started pitching all sorts of ideas and eventually a concept stuck. A sketch of a hedgehog by team member Naoto Oshima stood out from the crowd. The sketch was originally referred to as Mr. Needle Mouse. The industry has seen plenty of side-scrolling platformers, modeled after the core structure of Super Mario Bros. Such as base jumping, ladder climbing, head bopping, but Sonic added a new twist to the formula by using speed as the main gameplay mechanic. The goal was to create the fastest video game character ever, with the gameplay design to keep him moving. To make the name better fit the character and the concept of speed, he was renamed Sonic the Hedgehog, and thus the legend was born. And AM8 will later be known as Sonic Team. Sonic 1 released on June 23, 1991, and it was an instant hit. The game was so popular that it became the Genesis' first killer app, with gamers buying the system just for a chance to play the game. Not only was it Sonic's innovative gameplay that made him popular, but his edgy yet friendly personality was a refreshing change for many young gamers, making him a hero that they could better relate to. Sonic was just so cool, he was
Way past.
The story centers around Sonic stopping his arch-rival, Dr. Ivo Robotnik, or Eggman, who wants to use the 6 Chaos Emeralds scattered around South Island in order to achieve world domination. These gems have the power to break energy to all living beings, or to power weapons of mass destruction, so obviously the thought of a crazy-ass doctor obtaining these wouldn't be ideal. To make matters worse, he has captured all the local animals and has turned them into minions called Badniks. To stop the doctor, Sonic needs to travel through various zones on the island, freeing the animals and putting a stop to Robotnik's ambitions. As Sonic is traveling through 6 zones containing 3 acts that end in a boss fight against the Doctor. After you kick his fluffy ass, he'll fly off, allowing you to open the castle, freeing some of the local animals. One of the things I do respect about Robotnik is that he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He could easily use his minions or build some type of mini boss, but he's willing to mix it up and you have to give him credit for that. As Sonic, their main way of handling enemies is to jump, or the Super Sonic Spin Attack. They really tried to make that sound special, didn't they? Anyway, just about everything can be taken out with a jump, even caterpillars, but these can die in a pit of fire. It's you have to be precise with your jump to hit them without taking damage. For an enemy like the caterpillar, you can use the secondary way of attacking enemies, rolling into them. If you can generate some speed, you can just roll into the front of them and avoid the spikes altogether. It's the best way to kill the rolling enemies that show up in Spring Yard Zone, because if you don't kill them when going down those long pathways, they'll show up out of nowhere and hit you.
The fuck?
Speed and momentum is how you traverse a decent portion of these levels, as you'll need it to get up certain ramps and pathways, and there are power-ups like the Power Seekers that will give you even more speed, which is insane considering how fast you can go already. There is a shield that is a great help on slower levels, and invincibility that allow you to plow through everything, but it won't save you from level hazards like drowning, bottomless pits, or being crushed. Rings are your lifeline in this game. It's important to make sure that you always have one ring on you. If Sonic gets hit when he has rings, you'll lose a life. There are ring bosses spread out throughout the levels that come in handy in case you need them, and these will come in handy at the end of the stage. If you have 50 rings at the end of Acts 1 and 2, there will be a special ring that appears, and it's through these that you'll be able to gain access to the special stage where you can get the Chaos Emeralds. These levels look like one big acid trip. With how the background switches between fish and birds, it looks cool, but it can be distracting. These stages aren't too hard, but the later ones can be a pain if you don't know where to go. I would also like to point out the fact that there are only 6 Chaos Emeralds. This is kind of weird since the number has been 7 for a while now, but hey, that's one less emerald that you have to get. There's nothing worse than being in these for a minute or two and then hitting the goalpost because of the fact you have to collect 50 rings to get here, and some levels are harder to achieve that than others. The longer the level, the more likely you are to get hit. Which brings me to the biggest problem with Sonic 1, its pacing. Let me put it this way, Green Hill Zone gives you alternate pathways, and unless you fall towards the bottom of the stage where it's more platform heavy, overall you're moving at a pretty good pace. But that comes to a screeching halt with Marble Zone. A very platform heavy and linear level with annoying enemies, and then there's the lava surfing. Blast processing, this is not. Things pick up again with Spring Yard Zone, and while it has its slow points like the platform elevators, I'll take those over 95% of what Marble Zone has. Lava Zone has the same problems as Marble Zone, except it's underwater, so you'll have to keep collecting air bubbles to keep yourself from drowning, and Starlight Zone is a faster level with annoying bomb enemies and green Orbinauts. There's this one area where there's a lot of bombs in a green Orbinaut that I call the Hallway of Death. This part gave me a hard time, as I kept getting hit by either the bombs or the Orbinaut, and that left me with hardly any rings left before the fight with Robotnik. But eventually, I realized that after I get within range of the bombs, I should step back for a few seconds, let them explode, and then jump over the Orbinaut, and that worked like a charm. It was that easy. This leads us to the final level, Scrapbray Zone, and this level is a test of everything you've learned so far. First off, watch out for the platforms that open at the beginning of the stage. These are bottomless pits. Sonic Team was wrong for this. I fell for it on my first attempt, and I'm sure that's claimed a lot of gamers. This level is more platform heavy, but this feels worse because of let's see, crusher blocks on a conveyor belt, these electrodes that can pop you even if you aren't paying attention, platforms that are easy to fall off of, spinning buzzsaws of doom on said conveyor belt. Scrapbray Zone has it out for you. I tried my best to stay at the top of the stage because the lower levels are hell. Scrapbray Zone at 3 can be a short level if you know the proper shortcut, but if you miss it, well, Lava Zone at 4. The final Eggman fight can be challenging on your first few attempts. It's all about getting the pattern down, or doing what I did, keep your butt in the right corner and wait until Eggman appears in the piston closest to you and hit him that way. It takes longer this way, but it's way less risky. After you finish him off, he'll try to escape and you can whack him one more time. You can let him go, but where's the fun in that? Give him one more for putting you through all this trouble. If you got all the Chaos Emeralds, you fill Green Hill Zone with flowers? It's no supersonic, but it's pretty to look at, and you get to see how pissed off Eggman is. Look at him stomp on that ensign. On the other hand, if you didn't collect all the Chaos Emeralds, he'll taunt you with them, and he has this shit-eating grin. He's ready to build Robotnik Land, or Eggman Land. I know I've been switching between the two of them. So, how does Sonic 1 hold up today? It holds up well. Its gameplay is a bit bare bones compared to its younger brothers, and it does have pacing issues, and because of that you'll probably go to Sonic 2 or 3 and Knuckles first, but it's still a fun game to play. Green Hill Zone is legendary, and future Sonic games would try to emulate it, but they never could capture the same mystique. Also, this game has a good soundtrack. It's not the best in the series, but there are some hits like Green Hill Zone and Spring Yard Zone. This was my first time fully completing the game. I've been trying for over 10 years, and when I got that final hit off Eggman, it felt like a weight had been lifted off of me. This isn't the first game I would come back to. I'm more of an adventure era guy, but I wanted to give respect to a franchise and character that personified the 90s. Thank you for watching, guys. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
DJ Sonic 3.